I'm sure you've heard these phrases before. This piece is an investment. All your wardrobe needs is a white button-down shirt, or just stick to neutrals. They're a safe bet that will work every time. The thing that these all have in common is that they've been repeated so many times that they've started to sound like gospel. It feels a little bit like these are being passed around as universal truths and can really muddy up the evolution of your own personal style, especially when they don't align with your style, your body, or your budget. And I thought today we could kind of dispel some of these fashion truths and break down the trends and style rules that I personally will not be buying into. I think this is going to be a really fun one, and I'd love for you to share with me the fashion propaganda that you will not be falling for down in the comment section below. If you're new here and you enjoy this video, I'd love for you to like and subscribe. And now let's get into it. Let's dismantle the myth of the perfect wardrobe, one overused phrase at a time. In my opinion, one of the most overused phrases in fashion is that an expensive or luxury item is an investment. I'm here to tell you now that anything you buy for your wardrobe, maybe with the exception of a Chanel classic flap or an Hermes Birkin or Kelly, is actually not an investment. It loses value the second you add it into your wardrobe. It's not something that is going to increase in value over time. Of course, there are going to be those rare exceptions, those gems, but it's an item that you're bringing in that has a utility to it. It's not something that is going to set up your financial future. And I think that the true investments in your wardrobe are the time that you spend curating it, the time that you spend planning out and discovering the outfits that you truly like, and also the time that you spend getting things tailored so that they fit you perfectly. Because at the end of the day, that is actually what is going to make you feel good in your clothes, not the actual items themselves. And listen, I've definitely been guilty of calling more expensive items I've brought into my wardrobe an investment in the past. I think in part it was also what I would use as a justification for spending that money on something that really was a splurge, that was a lot more expensive than I would have otherwise considered. So that is definitely the first thing that I'm not going to be buying into. Okay, next one is that timeless means that it will always be in style. I am not buying this one for a second. I think that while yes, there are categories of items that we will continue to see in our wardrobes, the actual look of them, the silhouette, the vibe, the aesthetic, that is going to change as trends shift and change. Take, for example, blazers. I'm currently wearing one here, which is a little bit relaxed through the shoulder. It's a long line design, and then it nips in at the waist slightly. So it gives you a slight hourglass effect. If you look back just maybe 3-4 years, really oversized blazers like the Frankie Shop B blazer were what were currently trending, and those were everywhere. Go back a little bit further and you'll see things like the more sort of very tapered, slim-fitting blazers were what everyone was wearing. And you can continue to do this as you hop back in time. Denim is another really good example. Right now, we're seeing this real resurgence of the straight and wide leg jean, but before that, we had about 2 decades where skinny jeans dominated. Before that, we had the bootcut jean, and so on and so on. And I think it's just really interesting to see how the different trend cycles really affect and impact the designs that we are seeking out. While the item itself might remain the same, the actual style of it won't. So buying yourself a black blazer and saying, it's a classic, I'm gonna be wearing this 20 years from now, the reality is that one, it may or may not fit because our body goes through so many changes over the decades, but also you may find yourself feeling like it comes across a bit dated in 2 decades' time. I feel like this one is an unpopular opinion, so please sound off in the comments about what you think. Okay, please do not come for me on this next one, but Laboos. Listen, I am a big kid at heart. I still play video games. I've got my Nintendo Switch, but I just can't get on board with Laboos. This feels like peak consumerism. I really do not like the scarcity mindset that has been created around these blind boxes, which to me almost feels like a form of gambling because you don't know what you're going to get. And even if you buy that 6-pack of them, if you don't know what Laboos are, I'm going to link a video down below so you can find out a bit more. But even if you get that set of 6, you might not get the secret. And if you do get the secret, do you miss out on one of the other colors that you liked? It just feels like a very expensive hobby that people are jumping on board with that potentially they're going to tire of in a few weeks, a few months, a couple of years. It reminds me a little bit about the craze around Beanie Babies. Remember how everyone thought that those were an investment and then the value of them just plummeted? It kind of gives me that same feeling, but also I totally appreciate that right now people are looking for little luxuries. Maybe they're not buying lipsticks, instead they're buying a Laboo or a Lafufu for their bag. I think bag charms are fun, but I feel like rather than buying into it because it's a trend, buy the thing because you actually have some sort of a connection to it or you genuinely like it, rather than being influenced as a result of exposure theory because your algorithm is just feeding you constant unboxings, which for some reason you just can't stop watching. Next one is that outfits should be flattering. Now, my personal take on this is that your outfit should just feel good. Sometimes the outfit that feels good is not necessarily the one that makes you look slimmer, taller, your legs longer. It could be the one that makes you feel interesting, creative. It could have a really interesting silhouette to it. It could be a fabric that you enjoy wearing, a color you love. It doesn't mean that it's a bad outfit. Instead, put the focus back to what we enjoy wearing rather than what other people expect us to wear or think that we should wear. Given how frequently I say that good quality can be found at every price, this next one will not surprise you. And that is that more expensive does not necessarily mean better quality. The reality is that there is a bit of a ceiling even when it comes to luxury goods. Eventually, you'll start to experience diminishing returns, which is where the increase in price is no longer equal to the increase in quality, both actual and perceived. This is why the Rose Ophelia sweater is never going to be 10 times better than a $250 sweater, and it's why designer shoes are never going to be, 5 times better than a mid-price but high-quality leather shoe. You have to remember that part of what you're buying into is a story. Maybe it is artisanship, the craft, the brand, the designer, the original design. But being aware of that when you're making the decision, when you're actually at the checkout, I think that is a really powerful thing, and it can really add a lot of value to your entire shopping experience. I'm definitely not buying that one item can fix your entire wardrobe. Just say you're feeling like you're in a bit of a style rut, nothing is working for you, every single day you get dressed and you hate your outfits. Going to the shops and buying even just one thing to bring into your wardrobe is not going to actually solve the problem that you had in the first place. Yes, it will give you more choices, it will give you some new outfit combinations and maybe make some things feel fresh, but actually what your wardrobe might need is just a little bit of love, a little bit of wardrobe playtime. Maybe all you need to do is rearrange the items in your wardrobe, as that can actually change the way that you look at things and change the nature of what you're gravitating towards as you first step into your closet. One thing I'm not going to fall for are following style rules, things that these days actually kind of feel quite outdated, especially when you think of color palette rules, like you shouldn't pair black and brown together, you shouldn't pair navy and black together. These are color combos that I actually love because of the subtle contrast that they add, or maybe the richness that brown brings to black. So I definitely won't be falling for that, and you shouldn't either. Instead, think of rules more as tools or guidelines, things that can help shape what you are trying to achieve but aren't the be-all end-all. I feel like one of the biggest complaints I hear about capsule wardrobes is that they have to be minimal and neutral. I personally do not believe that this is the case. I think many people actually just operate with a capsule wardrobe, but they don't formally call it that. But you can really make it whatever you want. You don't have to follow set guidelines. You make the rules. You are the one in charge of your style destiny. If you subscribe to my Substack, you'll know that on the first of every month, I share a 10-item capsule, many of which I try to incorporate a lot of color into. Think brights, unexpected neutrals, and I also try to use some really interesting silhouettes to showcase the versatility of a capsule wardrobe and really put at the forefront that it doesn't have to be a one-size-fits-all approach. Instead, think about the utility of the items that we're including and what those might look like for you, because for everyone is going to be different. And the final one that I am not falling for is that once you find your style, you are set. I think it must have been last year where there was this real trend of people sharing what their style looked like 10 years ago versus what it looks like now. And this sort of sent me down a rabbit hole as I started to question my personal style journey, because what I was noticing is that all of these girls were dressing the same. They either had a quiet luxury aesthetic or they had this kind of maximalist, quirky, very fun, loud, bold aesthetic. It was kind of one or the other. And to me, they both actually felt quite trendy, quite typical of what we're seeing a lot of on social media at the moment, quite conformist in some ways, because we do tend to dress like everyone else as we want to be accepted by our peers. We want to signal that we're just like them. Hey, I'm part of your group. Let's be friends. We speak the same style language. And so our visual identity, that becomes important because we're tying that, we're attaching what that clothing means to us and how we can use that visual language to communicate who we are. And what I noticed was that my own style journey has actually followed the trend of what was in fashion at the time. And I don't think that this is a bad thing. I think that naturally our style evolves also as we go through the different phases of our lives, and we start to find that certain elements relating to style and how we dress become more or less important to us. But also it could be a change in where you're living has impacted how you dress. And I suppose the point I'm trying to make here is that I think sometimes we tend to downplay how much of an influence these outside factors have on so many different elements of our lives. It could even be just your taste in interiors as well, and how that has shifted over time. Because when we're repeatedly exposed to something, and this is what I was saying earlier, our eye adjusts and that kind of becomes the new normal. And I think that's why if you are going from a skinny jean or a slim fit jean to something wider, it's going to take you a while to adjust to it because it feels different. It feels alien at first, but the more that you wear them, the more that you style them, then it's going to start to feel like second nature, like a second skin. So that is all of the fashion propaganda that I will not be falling for. I would love to know what's on your list. This was definitely very inspired by the trend that we're seeing on Instagram at the moment, and I thought it'd be fun to bring this one over to YouTube and unpack some more of my thoughts. Thank you so much for spending some of your day with me. I'm always so grateful. If you did enjoy this one, then please don't forget to like and subscribe if you're new. I share lots of styling advice, brand reviews, and how to make the most of your wardrobe. Also, don't forget to share the style propaganda that you won't be falling for down in the comments below, as I feel like it's going to be so fun to read through. Have the most beautiful week ahead, and I'll see you next time with a brand new video. See you soon. Bye.